How about I welcome everybody first? I think that's a good way to start off. So welcome this morning. I don't know if everybody else is in a snowy day, but it's snowing here in Montreal. So
it's going to be 15 here today.
Pardon me?
It's going to be 15 in Calgary today.
Wow.
Plus 15.
Wow, good for you. Everyone for coming, and I will turn this back to whoever's doing them.
So for all of you who are guests today, this was Vicky, our president of the club, the Rotary E-Club of Canada 1. And I'm going to start off with a short video about peace and understanding, the Rotary International theme for the month of February. Peace. Sorry, it doesn't want to stay open, just one. I'll try it once more.
Let's be honest, the world can seem scary. Violence, poverty, disease, corruption, pollution. The problems just seem too overwhelming, too big. You are just one person, right? Not if you are a Rotarian. You are part of a club, part of a district, part of an international network of 1.2 million Rotarians in 35,000 clubs in 200 nations. This makes you part of the largest and most impactful service organization in the world. As Rotarians, you have roughly the same human power as the world's most powerful militaries, but you are woven into the fabric of the community. Rotary as a global organization connects you with a network of passionate community leaders focused on positive change through service and the four-way test. Rotary's 6 areas of focus strengthen that network into a powerful force for peace. So, what if we started thinking about Rotary as more than a collection of service clubs and just started thinking of ourselves as a global peace-building force? What if together we wage peace? Just imagine Rotarians building a world beyond war. But first, some background. Did you know that we are living in the most peaceful period in human history? Wars are less common and kill less people. Violence against women and children is the lowest in history. Homicides have decreased dramatically in much of the world. Genocide and other civilian killings are less prevalent. The number of democracies is increasing every year. People are living longer, healthier lives. Girls are getting a better education. And human rights are recognized in much of the world as a cornerstone of basic governance. The world is not falling apart as the media might lead us to believe. In fact, measurable trends support the emergence of a global peace system that today rivals the global war system. Trends that led to the development of international institutions like the United Nations aimed at preventing war. Trends about the protection of civilians. Trends proving nonviolence is more effective than armed resistance. Trends toward the proliferation of peace education. Trends favoring the economics of peace over the economics of war. And trends leading to the flourishing of international law, treaties, and courts. So what if we changed our mindset as Rotarians to match the current realities, the current science? The good news is, Rotary already set us up for success with the 6 areas of focus. When you build economic opportunity for communities, Rotary builds peace. When you provide education where education is not available, Rotary builds peace. When you provide clean water and sanitary conditions, Rotary builds peace. When you improve on the health of women and children, Rotary builds peace. When you prevent and treat disease, Rotary builds peace. And when you focus specifically on peace and conflict prevention and resolution, as a cornerstone of your club's activities, Rotary directly builds peace. We are this close to ending polio, but what's next? For over 100 years, Rotarians have been advancing understanding, goodwill, and peace through their service work. Now, with the Peace Area of Focus and network of over 1,000 Rotary Peace Fellows, we're ready to take it to the next level. Peace building is about community building. We're ready to train leaders, including youth, to build peace and to prevent and mediate conflict. Convene people and resources to increase the peace-building impact of Rotary service projects in all areas of focus. Empower Rotarians everywhere to create sustainable peace building in communities and regions affected by conflict, and more. You are a Rotarian, and you build peace. This is your call to action. Start a peace committee in your club. Volunteer to be the peace chair for your district. It is a Rotary-supported position. Support the Rotary Peace Centers by recruiting qualified candidates. You can lead your club to engage in at least one service project annually that promotes nonviolence or raises understanding of the root causes of violence. You can start by joining a Rotarian Action Group. Through the Rotarian Action Group for Peace Hub Map, you can connect with other Rotarians and peace committees. Tap into the expertise of our Global Peace Fellow alumni community through the new Peace Hub Map. So, the world isn't that scary after all, because peace is you, and you are Rotary. Go wage peace.
Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Lois. And if everyone could mute themselves, please.
So it's with great pleasure I want to introduce to everyone Janet Wizowaty. She's a wife, a mother, a grandmother, a great-grandmother, and a friend. She's married to Les, who's on the call with us today, who is a former RCMP officer. And she was married to Les for 10 years before she joined the RCMP as a civilian member in 1982. And she retired in 2011 and continued to work in relief positions for another 10 years. During these years, through trauma, change, and crisis, Janet worked as an emergency services dispatcher with the RCMP. After a PTSD diagnosis, she made a decision to work on herself, and through personal development and certifications, she eventually became a public speaker. Highlight in her public speaking career so far was speaking in the United Nations in 2017. She is a mentor, a life coach, and an author, and she's going to talk to us today about Wounds to Wisdom. There is a saying, teach what you need to learn, and Janet is all about learning new things, moving forward, and practicing self-care. I present to you Janet Wizowaty.
Thanks, Lois. Great to be here. It's I actually joined Rotary for a bit, but then I was working up north and couldn't attend the meetings all the time. So it's nice to see faces I know, and Lisa and I go back a long way. And I've got to thank Les for being here too, because you can't go on a journey like we've been without somebody beside you that supports you. And believe me, he's put up with a lot, and every crazy idea I've come up with, he just has gone with it. I'm sure there's times behind my back he's cursing me, but he does it anyway. I actually put a book together before Wounds to Wisdom. A friend put that together. I did the year the world paused in 2021 after COVID. And I have authors in there, and for me, like, I lose all my files. I don't know what my brain does, but I lose all my files on my laptop. So Les keeps track of all of that stuff. But in 2020, a group, I found them, I have no idea how, and that's where, you know, we have to think of, where do some of our thoughts come from? Where does some of these meetings come up. How do we meet somebody that we never would have met, but they're across the world because somebody you knew at a meeting like this, where you're all over the place, knows somebody else? Like Tammy and I both worked for the RCMP. She was in Red Deer, and I worked with her daughter in the Arctic. And just that's where life leads us. And when you're open to curiosity, that's what happens. So in 2020, I found this group online. It called The Power of Our Story. Sarah Carell started it because she wanted to have a safe place for people to share their stories. And she had found already, she was having coffee and conversations where healing took place when people shared their story in a safe place with no judgment, nothing. They just, when they were ready, they could share their story. So the last year, she decided to put this book together. There's 29 of us in the book. I know personally I've been part of The Power of Our Story with the majority of them in the book. And I can tell you, just like your groups in Rotary, your club members have friends all over the world, but you connected with, but they're mentors, they're friends, and they're powerful together. And you know that they've got your back. And that's what this book is about. This book is about us sharing what we went through in a safe place until we got to that point of healing where we could publicly share our story so that others knew they weren't alone. Because the majority of people suffer in silence. No doubt there's so many people around you that have had a traumatic event or more than one that have never shared, and they've eaten it up inside. One of our authors, Rich, a police officer that was kidnapped 6 months into his service by 3 people that had a gun. And he didn't share that story with his family or anybody else. It went through court and everything, but his family and friends didn't know about it. And it was 30 years before he shared his story with us. And he's just a beautiful soul. Lots of times we judge, and this is one of the things, that video, by the way, that you played, Tammy, was beautiful, because we can't do this alone. We can be that peace in someone's life. We can be that peace where we go. And it's peace, change the words a little bit in the spelling, piece by piece, we can create peace in our world and across the world. And I know that's what Rotary does, as I have friends in Rotary, and but that's how I got into this. I had shared my story in 2017, part of it, in the United Nations. It was a program I was in, and you have to be careful about your words, everybody. Just be careful, because I stood up in a group in 2012 and says, I want to speak in the United Nations. And what I really wanted to do, I wanted to speak to the United Nations. I wanted to say, look at the rest of us, look at our first responders, look at our military people that have come back, look at our cohorts in those other countries. We have so many people that want peace, and they go in that line of fire to help save people. But I did speak in the group, and it is on YouTube under my name, where I did speak. And the best part of that whole event wasn't the fact that I spoke in the United Nations and I spoke to peers. It was the sound man that, when he took off the equipment after he said, thank you for the message. So we never know where our story is going to go, where our message is going to go. All we know that if we share it, it's going to touch someone. And that's what this was all about. This stories in this book, they go back a lot of, you'd be surprised. Like we've got Green Beret, Marines, we've got a Gold Star mom whose son was killed in Afghanistan, shares how gratitude saved her. Gratitude that she had said supported him when he went into the military when she didn't want to. Gratitude that she spent time listening to him and his stories. And gratitude that she could be there for his burial, because if she had stayed where she was, angry at him going into the military, and there's a whole backstory there, then she would have missed out so much. So gratitude throughout the book is very prominent. And one of the things that I learned in my journey was that we need to recognize and acknowledge that there's been a trauma. We don't always do, but our bodies, I found my body fell apart before any diagnosis came. It was 20 years later that a diagnosis came. And to recognize that that's part of that. Once we recognize it, then we can do something about it. It's just like the project that Rotary has with polio. The decision was made to support the ratification of polio. So then somebody had to go into action. But until we acknowledge there is an issue, we can't start working towards the healing part of it or towards the journey to complete it. And so trauma, awareness is key. And once you are aware, then you can do something about it. So then you can find somebody to help you. In my case, it was a psychologist that was amazing. And then you can start your healing. But the most important part of that journey is to celebrate it. I think that's what's lacking in a lot of our journeys, is that we don't acknowledge and celebrate the journey that we actually went on, because it is a journey. Every journey starts with a decision. And there's amazing people that come into your life. And when I say amazing, not all of them may have been positive, but they were a lesson to you and they helped you to become more of who you are or who you wanted to be. You had a choice, and we always have a choice. But to celebrate where you are. There's so many of our police officers right now, more so than ever, are losing their lives in the line of duty, but also silently taking their own lives because they can't deal with the pain anymore. Military victims. But in groups like this, when we can share our story and say, there's somebody you can talk to. There's somebody that'll listen, and that you're not alone. And that's what this book is about. These stories have stories of childhood trauma that led them into that purpose of service. They've also got moral injuries of what has happened to lots of people in a career. I'm sure some of you have even had this happen. Worked for a boss that was demeaning to you or criticized, tried to knock you down. But we can come through that with the help and with learning. And that's a second part of what this month is about, is understanding. How can we do something about if we're not willing to learn and understand what it's about? So I'm just going to leave it for people to ask questions now, because as I'm sure Lois and Annalise and Les can attribute to that, I could talk all day, but it's more interesting when there's engagement. So I will leave that up to anybody who has questions, and any topic. I'm open about everything.
I'll start with Ann Lisa Jensen. Where are you located?
Oh, good morning, everybody. It's great
Yeah.
to see some familiar faces as well. Elly, I've known for many, many years.
Yes.
I'm located in Calgary, live downtown
Oh, nice.
Calgary.
Okay.
Yeah, a good friend of Lois's who's invited me today, connecting again with Janet. And was a Rotarian for many years in Spruce Grove, president, held almost all the portfolio chairs, and then have just been in
Awesome.
transit the past few years up to the Spruce Grove area, moved up to Fort Mac, came down to Calgary. And so, yeah, Lois has invited me and really pleased to be here and learn more about this club and listen to my good friend Janet. So nice to meet everybody.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Yep, Tammy will have to get her contacted.
Yes, Doug, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Janet, for your presentation. And Tammy, I just wanted to share something that I've just sort of discovered. I'm on day 4 of no news. I've banned the news. And because everywhere I go, everybody I talk to is on this one trajectory of everything's going to hell, you know? And I said, no mas for me. I'm not going to do it. And it's been difficult to wean myself off of it, but it's opened up all this space for me to find new things to talk about, things that we used to talk about. Like, I love music, so I've filled my time with more music and more art and more conversation. It's day 4. I'm weaning myself off of it, and of course you can't be naive. You got to know what the hell is going on, but at the same time, we don't need hours and hours of media, taking us down these unpeaceful paths. So that's I'll let you know how I make out.
Great. Janet's provided a YouTube link for us, and I'm going to put it in the bulletin this week. It's one of the chapters from her book that she reads on a YouTube clip. So I'll make sure to put that in the bulletin this week.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So having my family have gone through a trauma, a very violent trauma, the people outside of the force and outside of emergency services were able to access counseling, but the people within the police force and in my niece's case, emergency call center, they're afraid to seek out counseling because they're worried about it going against their record. So I'm wondering what we can do to help them when they feel that if they say they have PSG, that it's going to impact their careers.
That's the saddest part of our careers. Some of it is changing. Tammy can attest to that too. For me, I didn't know that I had the trauma I did. And the majority of the people, I believe, don't. Behavior and dreams and stuff all contribute, and health. But what happened, I was in quite a bad car accident. And so I was off work for nearly a year. But I have to say, I mentioned gratitude. That accident saved my life. It literally saved my life. And I thought there were some health issues they found that we didn't know about. And I was just having so much stuff happening to me mentally that I knew I needed some help. I just thought it was all car accident. It was the 4th car accident in 10 years. So I just thought everything was from that. And I will say, if you don't feel comfortable with someone, do not work with them. The first psychologist I saw, I would not pay anybody to go see her. Disrespected me, and yeah, I won't even go any further there. But I did find somebody that was amazing, and there are some amazing counselors, psychologists, and coaches. But really, we need a professional to get us to a certain point. Yeah. And the first start could be your doctor. And So I didn't know, and it was the psychologist that diagnosed me first appointment that it was everything to do with my job and my career. And I had a really good RCMP doctor at the time. And that was a rare thing, but he was amazing. And he gave me a lot of support. But I think that it was your niece, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a good friend of the family who were
Yeah.
first responders to an incident.
Yeah. Do you know what? We have to decide where we want to go and what our battles will be. For me, it got to the point, I wanted to go back to work. I fought really, really hard to go back to work. And I didn't really care what anybody thought. And it is a stigma. But I'm a bit of a rebel in that field. And I did have the support of my doctor, and I did have the support of the psychologist, and I had my support of Les. And I had not just my psychologist. I saw a chiropractor, I saw a massage therapist, I did acupuncture. You know, we have to be responsible for us and see where we want to go. And if she needs somebody to talk to, there's, you can always give her a menu. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a clinician. What I am is somebody who's gone through it and come out at the happier end. And that too is a choice.
Yes.
We have to make that choice of what journey we want to go on. And my writing about it and speaking about it is just that. I want people to heal and have joy in their life again. I didn't realize, and I don't even think our family realized, I had stopped laughing. I didn't know that till I'd gone through the psychologist. I did not realize I had stopped laughing. I was so busy, and your niece and somebody else, whoever else, our family member, we shove so much trauma down so that we can deal with other things in our lives. You know, I can't take an emergency call from a crying child who needs assistance because mom's being beat up. I can't cry with her. I would love to get off my, out of my seat and go to her place and hug her, because my granddaughter was the same age as her. And all I know is that my granddaughter was safe. We have these things that we have to make decisions, and then we push them down. So we get very good at pushing all of these down so we can do our job. And whether it be professionally or outside of the first responder field, because we can keep ourselves so busy. It takes, like I said, I got 3 taps and then got hit by a 2x4 that took me out for a year because I wasn't listening to my body. I wasn't listening to what I needed to do. So if nothing else, share stories with, like this book, all the stories, the authors are reading their stories, and the link that Tammy's giving you, you can go on that YouTube page and listen. It doesn't cost you anything. But they share the stories, and not every story will touch you, but one will. And same with her. The book's on Amazon. We are an ebook as well. And we are working on an audiobook. Hopefully by the end of the year, will it be out? But it's the stories to know they're not alone. And people can hand my information out. You can find me anywhere. I'm quite open about that because I would not be here today if it wasn't for the people that helped me. And I don't want to see that for anybody.
So the organization you mentioned that you first became involved with, are you still connected with them?
Yeah, it's called The Power of Our Story.
Story, yes.
And so we've branched out. We used to meet every Thursday and people would just spend time together. There's some great healing organizations. There's a really good one in the States. Unfortunately, it's a nonprofit in the States. But I know that some of the counselors, there is somebody here in Edmonton, actually, and Daniel Sandella, and some of you may have heard of him. But we can definitely put his name in there if you want. Lois can probably put his name in there. But he was a paramedic, firefighter, turned his trauma into creativity, and now he's doing clinical counseling as well, and has an event coming up. Kim, where is she? What?
So the event happened to my daughter-in-law who lives in Calgary.
Oh, okay.
To her brother.
Okay.
He was murdered. And it happened that my niece took the call, and a good friend was the first police officer.
Yeah.
They'd never experienced anything so violent before. So our whole family is under a trauma.
Definitely. And you know, I just want to share this, you guys. Our bodies and our health are really connected to trauma. So really watch your health and get some help. A friend of mine came across an accident. We don't do enough for the people who are not so-called professional first responders, because everybody can be a first responder. If they're first on the scene, there's that they take in that trauma, and there isn't, you're right, there isn't that help. And so they have to talk to their doctor and see if they can find some place that they can talk to somebody. But I'm open to talking and sharing resources that I can. But Daniel Sundell, he will have definitely connections as well. But and you know what? Just go for for first responders. I'm just trying to think. That's where I would start. Okay, because it's not worth your health. And everybody, like you say, everybody feels it. But there are tools. There are some great tools out there. I have, if she's interested, I do meditation and journaling session every Sunday night for women. And that have been first responders or gone through trauma. Again, this isn't a therapy session, it's a tool. We talk about meditating, we talk about journaling. It's a tool. We need to shift the focus of thinking. And I really needed to do that too. You get stuck in that negativity and that trauma, and really your environment at work. I believe they don't do enough at work, right, Tammy? They don't do enough for us in that. But there are people to support, and reframing. Reframing is huge. So I've reframed the motor vehicle accident because, like I say, it took me out of work, but it did save my life. And so, and it's just like Holly, she got through her son's death in Afghanistan through gratitude. By looking at, she was grateful she spent time with him when he was there. She listened to his stories. She supported him when he decided to go in the military. She went to his graduation. So by focusing on that, so focus on the brother and that maybe it's childhood memories that we're happier and stuff. We all have both sides of it, right? So it's the side we choose on is where we'll live. Does that help, Kim?
Yeah, thank you, Janet.
Okay.
Anyone else have any questions for Janet?
A comment maybe. You know, there's traumas in so many different ways. And I agree that journaling, I just recently, well, 2 months ago, I purchased a gratitude journal. And it sure helps me, you know, focusing on the positive, because we have a tendency to, if something happens or we're dealing with situations, to just focus on that. And I find the gratitude journal just really has helped me through my struggles here. Yeah. Thank you.
Gratitude is powerful.
It is.
there's a book called The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. It's an excellent, excellent book. And I teach a workshop. I do a workshop in journaling. And I have a video. If anybody's interested, I've done a video introductory to journaling that I can share. It's not, I don't have it open on my YouTube, but it is something I can gift to someone. But the gratitude journal, and there's so many people say, well, I don't want to journal, you know, how do you journal? Do you know what? A journal can sit down just being bullet points.
Yeah.
My gratitude every day is hot water. Because growing up, we had cold running water and we had to heat water to have a bath or something. So every day, hot water is my gratitude. And everybody can find one thing to be grateful for. But here's the other thing that you can put there. So on one side of the page, I'll put gratitude, what I'm grateful for today. And I put about 5 things. The other side, I put what I'm grateful for in the future, but in present tense. We speak things into reality. You see somebody that's negative, what are they surrounded with? You see somebody that's positive and happy, how are they surrounded?
So I did send everyone in the chat. I sent a link to Daniel Sundell's Facebook page. That's the best place to get kind of an idea of who he is. I will tell people that you need to be prepared because you will see some very, very graphic images. And Janet and I talked about this the other day, the peace that we've all come to rely on in our world, you know, both just in your neighborhood, in our country, in our world. I think what Janet's saying, and we all sort of know, but it comes at a cost to the people that provide that peace to us. And that's what Daniel has tried to show. Everything from police officers, firefighters, military, nurses, all across the board, and doctors. So like when you go to take a look, it's fascinating, but it is very graphic. For people who have experienced trauma, it can be a trigger. Janet and I went through that together because when I owned the gallery, I had the privilege of being able to have Daniel's work in my gallery. And it was a kind of, I guess you could say, a slap in the face to Janet when she came around the corner and saw a picture and saw it in his book. But he is phenomenal. And you know, Kim, for your for your family members who are still trying to process that, he even just to go to one of his workshops, and he puts on these, you know, big workshops for first responders. As Janet is saying, when you sit in a group with other people who've had similar experiences, and even down to how do I deal with this, that I know I need help, but how can I do it in such a way that it's not going to impact my career? So you know, it's there. He does have a website. He's a certified counselor now, but it's strange, and it hit me to. I just want to say this, Tammy, as we looked at the video that you showed, and those things are a reality. But just as, you know, we've shared, we're all trying to back away from the news, and it shows just how fragile peace is in our world. Because when that would have been put together, a lot of things have changed just in such a short time. And you know, I do want to say that for me, talking about backing away from the news, and of course I'm new Rotarian, new in this group, I am so thankful every week when I get to go in to our online, you know, go on the website and look at the information and I hesitate to put it as good news, but I mean, we can immerse ourselves in being educated about things that are still going on in the world, but in a positive note, and how as we band together, we can make a difference, whether that's environmental or supporting people. Kim, we had a similar trauma in our family. For anybody who remembers the G4S shooting at the Hub Mall, one of the people, and she was one of the people who was killed, was my daughter-in-law's sister, and they were just filling up the ATM machine. They were just doing their job, but the trauma that comes from people, we all lose people, but when you lose somebody brutally like that, it's forever changed our family.
Well, thank you so much for sharing, everyone. We could spend a long time on this topic because I'm sure we all have friends, family members who've been through similar experiences. And the good thing is, as Janet's shown us, there are a lot of resources out there. It's just tapping into the ones that work for you. So we're going to switch gears. So thank you very much, Janet, for today. Let's give Janet a round of applause for her presentation. We really...
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's just I know it's just a snippet of what you're all about, but it's a good way to learn more about how to deal with PTSD for sure. So it's also our birthday this month for Rotary. On the 23rd of February, Rotary had a huge birthday. And for our club, we also had one. And Elly was the driving force behind the establishment of the first Rotary E-Club in Canada a number of years ago, and 2013 to be exact. And she's going to share some few little snippets today from her experience with it. So please join me in welcoming our past district governor, our honorary RECCO member and charter president of RECCO, my friend and fellow Rotarian, Elly Contreras from Mullen.
Okay, let me see if I'm trying to set this at the show and it doesn't go the way I want it. Okay. Doesn't want to go to full show. So I'll just do it this way, okay? I'll slide over a bit like that. Yep. Okay, so yeah, congratulations. Oh, I was just looking at the members here and it looks like David is the only original charter member that's still here. So that's wonderful.
Doug too.
So, well, Kim asked me, would you say a few words? Well, I never short for words, but I thought, okay, what should I say? And as I was cleaning up my computer, I came through a whole bunch of pictures from RECCO, and I think you should have those in your record. But I just picked a few of the highlights. See, there's David, and I met him for the first time the year that we worked with Al Bergsma, who was also a member of the Spruce Grove Rotary Club. And he signed up as the treasurer because we needed somebody. And he never became a member, but he just wanted to be part of this. And so there we are at the bank setting up the bank account, signing. And then I believe that after that, we went to see David and Sharon. I think we met somewhere between, I don't know where they live. And here is a picture, a collage of our charter celebration with people from all over. We were already in Mexico, and our sponsoring club was, there were 3 sponsoring clubs. One was in Eastern Canada, and then Grand Prairie was another one. And I can't remember the second one, but Kevin Hilgers, and this picture is all cut off. Kevin Hilger was at that time the president. Who you see there, this is District Governor-elect Betty Skrepnik holding the flag, and with her, I thought was Bruce Kleberger. And then, we attended the district conference right after our charter, and we won a award immediately. We won the Hans Granholm Award, and that was basically for the way we were, I believe, social media, how we managed to have our club meetings and meetings like this. We were actually the first people, the first Rotary group that started chatting on Zoom. And we became a model for many other clubs who during COVID were pretty well forced to be on Zoom. Our first pod meeting was with Bruce and Sylvia, who came to Osoyoos, where we lived at that time. So it's always been so nice to get together with our members. And I think there's only two, well now 3 of our members maybe that I haven't met in person. So hopefully in Calgary, I get to meet some of the other members. I met Kim in Guatemala when we went to Vicky's project. That was wonderful. Our first project was cleaning up together with other Rotary clubs at Fort Edmonton Park. And there in the middle there is, well, the little one in the middle there is me, of course. And right beside me on the right is Judy Harcourt Brown. And on the other side was the RI president, and I don't remember exactly his name, but that was nice to get a lot of visibility for our club. And this was one of our, I see Kit is already on there. And we had sometimes with some really good attendance from all over North America, actually. And so here, you know, when I came across this picture also, this picture on the left was taken when we were in Grand Prairie. And I thought, you know, there's the little one across amidst all the giants. And I've always seen that as our Rotary Club, you know, but we're no longer the little ones. And, you know, the little ones, as you know, can have a big voice. So congratulations. I'm really proud. And I'm also very grateful that you made me an honorary member. And I think I made the right decision to switch Rotary Club. So now I can be Thursday morning at your chats and your fellowship assembly. Yeah. So again, congratulations.
Thank you, Elly. We're all pretty happy too. As we like to say all the time, we are a small but mighty club. So we do a lot of good work, and I think it's a great opportunity to continually network. And I want to thank Kim for putting together another great program today. Janet, it was awesome. And Elly, thank you as well for sharing your comments about our birthday and I guess it's our yearly anniversary, whatever. But thank you everyone for coming today. If anyone has any comments, I can shut the recording off for now. And then if you have anything you'd like to share, please feel free.
I want to thank Louise too for suggesting our guest speaker today. Thanks, Louise.
Yeah, Tammy, I just wanted to concur with Elly.